President Biden getting ready to smear half the country as a bunch of semi-fascists for his soul of the nation speech, subjecting Americans to another rambling lecture on how evil MAGA Republicans are. The White House giving us a preview by calling conservative voters an extremist threat to our democracy and adding this today.
We understand we hit a nerve. We get that. We understand that they're trying to hide. And we understand that ultra-MAGA office holders want to play games here and dodge accountability for their extreme proposals and actions, but they're just telling on themselves. We're talking about agenda that is not popular. We're talking about agendas that is incredibly extreme. We're talking about an agenda that is not in line where majority of Americans are. When we talk about the extremism, we're talking about a very small component of the American public.
Very small, but basically the crux of their speech. Anyway, Republicans planning a pre-buttal to the speech by highlighting Democrats' record on crime and inflation. Here's Kevin McCarthy.
The problem with Joe Biden is he does not understand the soul of America. The tens of millions of hardworking, law-abiding citizens that he vilifies. They want a stronger, safer, more prosperous America, and all he does is vilify them to distract from the disasters and no plan he has to save America from where we are today.
All right, Brian, I want to go to you first. Remember, this is not Fox and Friends, so stay focused. So he's calling it the soul of a nation.
Right.
So I guess this isn't going to be about policies like crime, war, inflation. He's going to go after this amorphous threat,
right?
A large looming kind of quasi-terror group that perhaps he could pin all of the country's problems on.
I know people have different ways of motivating people. Some get in your face, some do it through praise, others do it through stares. How about berating people and in terms of just dredging up their soul? It's unbelievable that he is going to do this. And I think most networks are going to avoid this because it's a total campaign speech, which he's going to do in prime time. So I just think that this one thing's very interesting. He has every facet of the government working, playing politics. I always thought the press secretary was told to stay out of it. If they do get into it, they get rebuked right away. She's actually reading from her notes. She never usually does that. But about all these negative things, like, for example, I mean, if you're Kevin McCarthy, you just point out, listen, MAGA, if you want to be labeling me MAGA, okay, because I'm for rewriting trade deals that bring manufacturing back to the country. I'm for a strong defense. I'm for building a wall and having security. And if countries breach our security, they're going to be tariffed and they're going to be hit. I'm for giving parents control of the classroom or a say in the classroom. I'm not for mandating vaccines, but I'm for providing the best I can the information to move forward. I am not for locking you down and preventing you from working. I am not going to fire you. That's the MAGA Republican. I think they just want to label anybody, everybody that is a Republican, someone who's in the Capitol January 6th.
There you go. You know, Dana, it's got to be hard for Joe to reconcile the fact that he claims he's a staunch Catholic, yet he believes that the Roe v. Wade turnover is somehow a threat to the soul of America. Hasn't he sold his soul to the pro-abortion lobby? How can he talk about the soul of America?
Well, it is interesting, that word soul, isn't it? Yes, so the position that he used to have would have been safe, legal, rare, right?
Yeah.
But now the Democratic position is extremely extreme, which is legal abortion up until the point of death. And that is not where the country is on that. I think something that's been lost here is that in the Mississippi case that was decided by the Supreme Court, that was a 15-week limit. And that's kind of like where Europe is, it's where most of the country is. And for some reason, conservatives have walked away from talking about this argument. And this is actually something that they could press forward. But on the broader picture here, I think most Republicans will probably ignore this for the most part or hit it and then move on to things that people really care about. Since Biden announced the student loan announcement, one of the polls shows he went down 7 points. Drive home on all of the issues that you know people care about. Do not allow this crazy distraction to get you off track. And you could ask the question, what in your life, where government touches it, what in your life is better today than it was 2 years ago? Name something. And most people wouldn't, I don't know what they would say. Jessica's probably got a great answer to that. But I was thinking about it today. I'm not going to go.
She's just a prop here today.
But I also do think, I'm going to just comment on the press secretary thing. So that position, you are the spokesperson for all of America. Or also, you have to advocate for the President of the United States. But one of the things is there is a Democratic National Committee. That committee has a spokesperson, and that spokesperson could go ahead and do this. The White House is apparently really upset that anyone is calling this a campaign event. A campaign message, but it's clearly a trial balloon for what they're going to run on. But it's the exact same thing that they ran on in 2020, which is against Donald Trump and people who supported him.
Right, and it's also like a precursor or for another January 6th hearing in October that's coming up. So it's basically the introduction to the next season of their miniseries, Insurrection. Judge, is this a wise strategy to target a category of citizens rather than just individual leaders? You know, as a semi-fascist, I find it offensive.
Well, you want to carry it for all of us. We appreciate that, Greg.
Yes.
You know, here's the thing that I think is so ironic that he's doing this, you know, in Philadelphia, in Independence Park. I mean, you know, like the birthplace of a lot of the birthplace of American government, that kind of thing. It represents it. But it's really an indictment. This is an indictment of everyone who didn't vote for Joe Biden, because 73 million people voted for Donald Trump. This is all about bringing Donald Trump back into the middle of things when the election isn't about Donald Trump. It's not about Donald Trump. He's not running, as far as I know, or anyone else. He's not on the ballot. But they are so afraid of dealing with their losses and the problems that we are facing in this country that we've got to have a new boogeyman. We're going to make it the MAGA people. They're semi-fascist. And anyone who's a student of history understands that this does not end well. That when you start segregating people and accusing them of being something that is so negative, so hateful, that it then spins into a Democrat strategist saying these semi-fascists mirror Nazi Germany and Mussolini. I mean, we can all see where this is going to go. Hate is hate. Hate leads to violence, and that leads to retaliation. He's failed to unify the country, and now he's dividing it even more. And I think that there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal that said once Biden blurted out semi-fascist, he pretty much opened the door to debating whether or not he is a semi-socialist and where he's taking America. And I think that that is an incredibly important point. But given that both sides think that democracy is in danger of collapse, I think the most important thing that the Republicans can do right now is have a message. He's calling Republicans names. He's calling all of us deplorables, worse than deplorables. And it's about time the Republicans, whether it's McCarthy or anyone else, got a lock on what Republicans stand for.
Well, I think that about covers it. So coming up, I'm kidding, Jessica. I just assume you agreed with everything we had to say.
Especially what the judge just put out there.
I mean, obviously, this becomes this back and forth thing, like, oh, fascist, a socialist, fascist. But he didn't speak up when there was crime going on for a long time. And it's just strange that there was a consistent nightly riot that he was silent about. It's obviously a political theatrical device to go after January 6th. It's one day anomaly. Everybody hated it, you know.
Well, he's in Pennsylvania, which is an important swing state, and John Fetterman and Dr. Oz are in this increasingly tighter race, right? Fetterman had a bit of a bigger lead. We've seen a couple polls now that it might be tightening up there. It's okay for things that the president is doing to be linked to the campaign. He wants Democrats to win, and he wants to be out there to make sure that, you know, they have as much fodder to go and campaign with as possible. I have no objection to that, and I don't think the White House should fight that characterization. But I don't think that belittling the fact that now for years, and I know this because it's been an insult personally lobbed at me over and over, where Republicans do paint the Democratic Party as socialists. They talk about whether you're a democratic socialist or a socialist. If they're in charge, the country is going to turn into Venezuela. And you look at famed communists and socialists throughout time, Mao, Stalin, Castro, those guys are pretty bad too. And I get it that fascism, because people think of Hitler, hits a particular note, and it does for me as well. And maybe it's not a good thing to have these names floating around in the ether whatsoever. But it is important to call a spade a spade. And former President Trump, who, by the way, the reason we're talking about him is because he won't stop talking. He won't get off Truth Social.
Well, they raided his house.
They didn't raid his house. They executed
and ransacked.
It would go
Melania's AR-15. Yeah. First of all, that's how we're going to. Yes, D-Block, I'm excited. The execution of a search warrant is not a raid. And
Really?
earlier this week.
Wait a minute. When I sent my guys out with guns and with the ability to break down doors and
Did they
blow
show
up,
up and
blow up
don't get the
safes,
bulletproof
They
vest.
didn't
that's
show
a
up
raid.
at 6:30 in the morning and make him stand outside in his panties. Right. He wasn't even there when this happened.
I don't think he
Earlier
wears
this week,
panties, but
Trump called
need a second
earlier
source.
this week for the overturning of the 2020 election and to be declared the, quote, rightful winner.
We get-
You get it, but that's just to say to me, we get it, when everyone else
we know.
did.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're
I'm making a good argument?
No. You're smearing a large group of people because of one
No.
day. And I'm asking, where were you guys when people's buildings
day.
were being burned down, when dozens of people were killed, when neighborhoods were bleeding? You guys didn't say a damn thing because it was your side doing it. So enough of this stuff about January 6th. Everybody, there's nobody on
January
the
6th.
right that thinks that's a good thing.
January 6th has not come out of my mouth. And you know, until you said it. And you know who does think it's an okay thing? Donald Trump, who called into Newsmax today, and he said that he's helping out people who participated in January 6th, paying their lawyers fees,
How dare
and
you
he's
watch
offering them a
Newsmax.
pardon. I read it on Twitter. I did not watch. So let's be fair here.
We are being fair.
But Jessica, everything you said is
It's
perfect
right.
for Democrats because it's about Donald Trump. There's nothing about Donald Trump in the news until they raided his house.
Yeah.
Or
No,
else he would just be
that's
doing an
not
interview
true. We
here
were
and there.
talking about it. When
And the
is he
biggest
gonna declare?
All right, we gotta go.
And the biggest decision was whether he was going to run or not.
There you go. That was
Stop talking
lively.
about him.
Lively. Up next, liberal lockdowns erasing 2 decades worth of education progress. And somehow the Biden administration finds a way to blame Trump, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.